everyone, welcome to News Channel N, the place you can trust for your Nintendo and gaming news. This week we won't have a lot of headlines, but we have a few bigger ones, so hopefully it'll make up for it. Without further ado, let's jump right into it. This week, Nintendo Switch Online has added 3 new titles to its service. The 3 games that were added were Amazing Hebereke, Super R-Type, and Wrecking Crew 98. Unfortunately, it is a bit more lackluster than I would have wanted, but admittedly, they've done a lot of their staple titles already for NSO, so I don't really blame them for scraping the bottom of the barrel here. That's not to say these are bad games or anything. I'm not really familiar with 2 of them, so it's not really speaking to their quality or anything when I say that. I just mean that in terms of recognizability, they've already done most of their major titles for the service. That being said though, Wrecking Crew is really the only one here that interests me, and it just frustrates me that this is how I have to experience these retro games. If they weren't tied to such a disappointing service that pretends these are releases that you should really care about, maybe I would play them. But that's a little bit besides the point. I'm really not a big fan of NSO, in case that wasn't completely obvious. Moving on, Discord, the voice chat and messaging service, has recently taken down servers and accounts related to the development of Nintendo Switch emulators, particularly Yuzu, which has recently been involved in legal trouble. Discord stated that it was following a court order for the takedown of IP infringing material that was being shared within the servers. Unfortunately, it seems to be unclear whether or not there was actual IP infringement material in the servers, and apparently the takedown was very sudden, and Discord did not provide much to justify their actions, prompting some to speculate that Discord is taking extraordinary precautions to avoid legal response from Nintendo. I don't have a ton to say about this, but the fact that Discord is so afraid of Nintendo, and that it's affecting their community, is insane. Admittedly, it might have been part of a court order, but the emulator was already being shut down at this point. Also, I should say, I don't condone emulation of current products. If a product is still being sold and produced, buy the product. If nothing else, then to support the teams that made them. That being said, if a certain company isn't allowing you to buy certain products, but you're able to get them through other means, I'm not going to pretend like it's a bad thing to use those other means. Okay, moving on to our next headline. The clothing brand Uniqlo had previously announced that they were releasing Tears of the Kingdom t-shirts in late April. This is sort of older news, but the other day they confirmed that there would be a release in North America on April 25th. Honestly, I think they just look awesome. It's not really my thing personally, but if you're interested, make sure to pick one up. They definitely look like they're worth it. That one was kind of quick, so let's keep going with a more substantial headline. The CEO of developer and publisher studio Saber Interactive, Matthew Karch, doesn't think that $70 games are sustainable. Saber Interactive has published a variety of games, including licensed and AAA games, and somewhat notably, Teardown. Karch says that games are getting more and more expensive to produce, and something is going to shift soon, even going as far to say that the $70 model is going the way of the dodo. He says he believes that development will shift to games that aren't necessarily lower quality, but are easier to produce with less expenses. As weird as it's going to sound, I sort of agree with him, and hear me out before you grab your pitchforks. I don't necessarily think that he's saying that because games are getting more expensive to make, the prices of games are just going to keep rising. He's coming from a AAA perspective, where he's more making the comment that AAA companies need to cut costs and not feed into the constantly rising budgets demanded, and that since games are getting more expensive, customers might not feel that it's worth it anymore. He mentions that the more ideal model is closer to the likes of Helldivers 2, where it is moderately priced and still is getting a lot of players. It's worth saying, relating this a little bit more directly to Nintendo, that although Tears of the Kingdom was $70, I feel that this was a very rare occasion for Nintendo where they honestly and truly felt that the work they had done on the game was worth that price tag. And personally, I feel like the game was the first $70 game where I feel like I really got my money's worth, and more. In short, I agree with him. I think $70 is too much, and that game companies should make an effort to reduce costs so that the consumers don't have to pay out of their ass when a new game comes out that they want to play. Okay, moving forward. Sega has announced that 2024 is the year of the Shadow. Obviously, this is very reminiscent of Nintendo's Year of Luigi 10 years ago, which is interesting to me because I believe that the Year of Luigi was considered a massive failure? Wasn't it? Am I wrong about that? In any case, they released a motivational video encouraging people to be fearless and appreciate themselves, even having a neat use of the phrase chaos control, which has always been such a cool line to me, even as a kid. This was really cool. I kind of wanted Nintendo to do another themed year, but I actually really love Shadow, and I love how they're using his backstory of kind of a tragic character who doesn't really need anybody to make like a motivational video for people who might be in a similar position. Hopefully he'll get a new game, and hopefully this time it'll be good. Okay, moving on to our last story of the week. Toxicity in the gaming industry is unfortunately not as uncommon as we would like, especially after the events going on behind the scenes at Activision Blizzard were brought to light. We have become much more aware of the bad practices on display all throughout the industry. Unfortunately for Life is Strange developers Deck 9, they experienced this firsthand. I won't go into too much detail with this, simply because there's a lot of information, and honestly, you should just go read the article. I'll have it linked in the description. To sum it up, Zach Garris, who was the narrative director of Life is Strange True Colors, was a primary culprit to the development team dealing with, to quote IGN, sexism, harassment, bullying, transphobia, microaggressions, alienation, and other toxic behavior. The harassment in particular was reported to be Garris using his power and influence to try to coerce women to be with him, going as far as to talk to them as he followed them out to their car, even continuing as they were sitting in the car waiting to leave. Management and HR were contacted multiple times to no avail, until eventually Garris left voluntarily. In addition, in a future project, there were assets that included hate speech symbols associated with Nazis and racism, and when these were immediately reported, they didn't hear any response. After months, the management finally came out and reported that they removed the symbols and implemented a new hate speech policy. The response to this came in 3 different forms: people asking for more information, people breathing a sigh of relief now that they have something, and people mocking or complaining about it. The symbols being added was considered an unintentional action. Garris and Deck 9 have both released statements to IGN, and you can find both of them in the article. There is a lot to this, and I am in no way doing it justice. Once again, I have put the link to the article in the description, and if you're interested, please read it. I also have to say, good job to the author, Rebecca Valentine, for writing it. I probably will not do that very often, but I just think that they deserve some sort of recognition for, reporting this. And I think more people should know about it. In fact, please just share the article if you can. To me, it's really huge that the development of a Life is Strange game, a franchise known for its inclusivity, was wrought with people who are clearly full of hate. I feel like it's our duty as the public to put pressure on the company to find these people and remove them from the team for the benefit of not only the consumer, but the development team as well. And with that, the second episode of News Channel N comes to a close. Thank you so much for watching, and I really do hope you enjoyed. I tried to do things a little bit differently this time because I feel like in my first video I wasn't really on top of my game. I feel like there were things I could do better, so I tried to fix some of them, and hopefully the experience is a little bit more enjoyable. But thank you guys so much for watching. Mask Majora, signing off.